Hey, welcome back to the e-learning video series on BSF Biowaste Processing. This is the introduction module to the BSFL Conversion chapter. After watching this module, you'll be able to define biowaste streams which are good for the conversion with BSFL and which parameters are used to measure this. You'll also understand where biowaste streams are sourced and how to source them. Then you'll be able to identify indicators which are important to look for when assessing biowaste purity. Lastly, you'll be able to understand the general process of biowaste conversion using the Black Soldier Fly Larvae.
So for the operation of the Black Soldier Fly Larvae Biowaste Conversion Unit, not all aspects are concerned with the controlling of the environment of the Black Soldier Fly. Most of the operations actually in this chapter are rather more concerned with the sourcing, sorting and conditioning of the substrate for the BSFL, as well as the conditioning of the BSFL for further processing. The only stage where we are interacting with the Black Soldier Fly is the treatment stage, where, as with the BSF rearing chapter that you just passed through, BSFL are grown in crates similar to the nursery larvae in the rearing unit. The main difference here is that they are feeding on organic waste instead of a controlled substrate. The Black Soldier Fly Larvae, or BSFL, are very flexible in processing different kinds of organic waste. It is of course important that all the waste that they feed on is organic, so there should not be any inorganic materials in the waste, such as plastic or even worse, chemicals. Another important item is that the larvae feed on organic substrate, which is ideally high in nutritional values, most considering proteins, carbohydrates and fats. For this reason, leafy and woody materials like garden waste cannot be used as a feed. As a mineral requirement for the substrate, the waste substrate has a water content of around 70%, which you learned about in the BSF rearing chapter, where we mentioned how we prepare the nutritious substrate for the larvae in nursery larvae and ensure that the water content there is around 70%. Regulating the water content for the waste conversion process is important because the residue in the end of the process will dry out, so it can be separated easily from the larvae using a separation unit like a sieve. Other than that, it is of course important that you source your waste stream that were combined create a substrate that is nutritious enough so that the larvae can grow on it well. A biowaste stream that is excellent for conversion by Black Soldier Fly Larvae is food waste. It is mainly due to its high protein, carbohydrate and fat content. It's also mainly because humans also grow well on that. That's also why their waste can be used well for BSFL. Materials that have less of these nutrient contents are typical fruits and vegetables, normally found as market waste. Although this waste source from markets is also suitable for conversion with Black Soldier Fly, because we saw that the larvae still feed on it, although they stay smaller. Another reason why market waste is less suitable is because of its high water content, normally around 90%, compared to the 70% of the food waste and the 70% that we also try to reach in the BSF rearing unit. Therefore, this waste stream, this market waste stream, would have to be conditioned before it can be fed to the larvae to still ensure that a dry residue can be achieved. I mentioned briefly about the market waste. At our pilot site in Indonesia, we are sourcing our biowaste stream from a local market where only fruits and vegetables are produced. We source them by picking them up with a tricycle and by having an agreement with the vendors that they prepare baskets in front of their stand so that they can be collected by the collection operators. The waste is then brought to the site and it's later sorted and separated into different fractions. One fraction is all the inorganics that are going to be recycled. Another fraction consists of the leafy and woody materials, which I explained to you are not suitable for BSF, but they are quite good for composting. And then there is the fraction of the fruits and vegetables that will go to the BSFL, which is basically all the other organic material left. So we introduce you to the waste sources that are good for BSFL processing and how we are sourcing them. This is the first step in the operation that will be covered by this chapter. After this, we'll be going through the next module, which focuses on the biowaste pre-processing, including sorting and shredding and how this is done. We will then follow with the biowaste treatment process, where you will learn about how to operate the incubator units and the treatment units. We will then move to present you the operations related to the harvesting of the treatment units and the further processing of the residue. Lastly, we will focus on how to further condition the larvae after they have been harvested and separated from the residue. And this sums up all the steps that we will be passing through in this chapter.
Similar to the chapter on BSF rearing, the operations in the BSFL Conversion chapter are captured in the checklist that you see now in front of you. We will again be informing you about what operations happen in each step of the process. You will be coming back to this overview of the operational checklist after the operational part of each module. The order of the operations is described by the numbers you see in the far left column. Number 1 being the first operation the operator should start with every day. The second column explains again the operations in a summarized form. And then the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth column, where you see the X's on the top, they mark the week numbers. And under there you have 7 columns for each day of the week. Number 1 being Monday and number 7 being Sunday. Under these numbers are again open cells to check off each operation that you have completed. In the last column, you'll find the time allocated to each operation, which is only indicative. In the module on the site design, you will learn how to prepare this checklist further. On the bottom of the operational checklist, the numbers 1 to 6 indicate data collection points, where you'll have to fill in data from the operation in a performance control sheet. As with the BSF rearing operation, the data you collect through filling in this sheet helps you to keep control over the operation. To keep all the data structured, there is a separate control log sheet for the BSF rearing and for the BSFL Biowaste Conversion operations. You now see the ladder in front of you. In each of the operational modules, we'll be giving you some examples on how to fill in this sheet related to the activities in that module. In addition to the cleaning operations in the BSF rearing chapter, we have an additional 6 operations concerned with the preparatory and cleaning activities for the BSFL conversion operation. This is again the way that we handle the operation at the pilot site. Most of these activities are related to cleaning the spaces after they have been used for pre-processing, treatment, and/or harvesting the biowaste materials. As with the BSF rearing operation, it is very important that the site is kept clean at all times, especially when handling biowaste. It is thus advised to go through these activities every time you have handled a new batch of biowaste at a location. So as with the BSF rearing chapter, each module in this chapter will have a standard structure for each of the following modules. Each module will start with the general information about the BSFL conversion step, including inputs and outputs, and a general overview of the operation. Then, you will be going over the overview of the required materials that are needed for the operation. Further, we will be moving to the operational video, where we will be going into detail step by step through what you have to do in terms of the activities in the operation. We will then recap the activities following the checklist that I explained to you earlier here and that you saw in the BSF rearing chapter. I will be telling you at which point you might have to input performance data in the log sheet. Then we will end with the questions and answers to refresh the knowledge that you have gained through this module. We have now come to the end on this module on the introduction to BSFL conversion. You have learned that most biowaste streams are suitable for BSFL conversion, but the performance can differ. We also saw that BSFL conversion happens through multiple stages, from pre-processing, treatment, and harvesting to the conditioning of the BSFL for further processing. We also saw that various performance indicators are measured to understand the process efficiency. Thank you for watching this module, part of the e-learning video series on BSF Biowaste Processing. More information can be found in the BSF step-by-step guide, which you can download through the QR code here. Both of these materials were part of the Forward project by EWAC, in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Works in Indonesia and funded by SECO, the Swiss State Secretariat for Economic Affairs.